Two traders. Two visions. Two objectives. One chart. The bottom line.
Welcome to The Bottom Line. My name is Benjamin Poole, and I have two special guests with me. Today we have
me,
Gareth Soloway,
What's
and
going
Dr. B. All right, so
are.
Paul is out today. I was out last week, so we're just kind of mixing it up.
Paul is out. Let's be fair. Paul is out because he got a
Flat tire.
Flat tire,
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
That's
That's okay. That's all right. We'll let it slide this time. That's all right. I had to pick up my wife last week from the airport.
His
Or-
wife.
yeah,
I'm
yes.
Kidding.
All right, so we got a pretty exciting episode for you guys. We're not going to get into as much crypto today, but we're still going to do the bullish or bearish segment today, and we'll let you know what that is. I don't actually know who won last week on the bullish or bearish.
But do you know what the conclusion was?
No, what's the conclusion?
You know, if Paul won, you had to do push-ups, and if I won, you had to do push-ups.
okay, so it
you
looks
have to
like
do push-ups.
I have to do push-ups. Okay, because I was
exactly. So at the end of this episode, stay tuned. Ben's going to do 30 push-ups without a break.
out. Without a break.
Without a break.
And then he'll take a
this is
5-second
news to
break
me.
and do another 30.
Another 30.
Okay, all right.
But it's kidding.
All right, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the charts. Gareth and Dr. B both have additional charts for us. Thank you guys so much for liking and commenting. We do appreciate you guys' support. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the Roblox chart. So here I have, I put this out on the, what was it, the Apex, not the Apex, but the Advanced Trading News, right? Trader Insight News.
Yeah.
I favored a huge drop into earnings on Roblox. And actually, Roblox, here, let me get this out of the way. Give me one sec. All right, here we go. All right, so Roblox actually surprised the heck out of me. It dropped. I thought it was going to do about a 20% drop. So I had my line right here. 20% drop on Roblox was huge. So I actually gave the 3187 level. It actually flushed through that and got down to almost this this upsloping trend line. It kissed here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so you guys can see where I had my line. So you have this this line right here, this low point, charts. Okay, this low point right here connected to this pivot, and this is where the third bounce happened, right in this general area. So this was on earnings, and so it actually flushed there in the morning. So, and it had a huge bounce. So I don't think that Roblox is done based on the fact that this is the third hit. We should actually expect a pretty good bounce, and it's actually recapturing this gap fill right here. So now what I'm looking for is some consolidation above this gap fill, and then I actually think we can get up to this gap fill right around $40. If it continues up, I've got this downsloping trend line that it's it's hit right here, and so really it could go up to $45 before an eventual pullback. So that's the chart that I have.
These lines with pre-market trading are really interesting. I actually want to pull up a chart on Shopify. Gareth, why don't you take it from here, show a couple of charts, but I'll pull it up, yeah.
Awesome, guys. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to go over a couple charts that I have in terms of ones that I'm following. So this is a chart of Netflix, and what we saw is Netflix was trading up here in this upper range. This was basically all-time highs. It then had earnings. It had about a 10% drop, and based on the vibe in the markets, this overly bullish kind of market environment, we've actually retraced back to this kind of what we would call, in Dr. B and Ben, we've talked about these, we call them hidden trend lines, right? Where there's these trend lines where it's not as obvious because it's coming from the underside back to that level right here. And essentially what this is telling me is this is likely going to start to trade down. In fact, today it opened up right into that level. It's already trading down a little bit, but really this should start heading back towards this $540 level. What's amazing about this, and what I love, this is one of my favorite type of plays, is that you already know the negative news, right? We know now about the earnings that weren't the greatest compared to what expectations are, but you actually are getting a chance to get in at that same level prior to hearing that news, versus over here going into it, we didn't know it was going to drop. now you're getting the same price point, but now you know that effect. And essentially what this means to me is that when the markets do turn down, inevitably, right, even if they go a little higher, eventually they'll turn down, we should see Netflix come back in. So interesting chart on there.
So my question for you then is,
sure.
So if it already came up to this level, where would your next shortable level be? Because you're not going to chase this, right?
No.
So it's already down to 609, and so you're at 620 right now, right? Or that was about the level 625 would have been your first shortable level.
So to be fair, down $10 after a $100 move almost. It's not the end of the world if you're really looking for down here. But you're right. We hate to chase. I hate to give up even an inch in terms of an entry point. So a couple things. So number one, you'd look at the double top here, and that would be a possible add level around 640. And then there's actually this really impressive, if I remember correctly here. And let me bring that back up here. So let's go here. And if we look at this Netflix chart, right, and we zoom out, we can see that there was an upsloping trend line here that gave us this secondary point of interest. So this would give me a second level and also up here. So, I mean, just on the off chance this thing just goes ballistic, notice this upsloping line that's connecting to this double top, right? So you have double top here. This line here, look at that, all these hits along here, just so many, which actually mark the top right here. So in that case, if we did really surge up, you have this line and this line as additional dollar cost averaging points. That's a great question, and I think it's important to have a plan, right? And I think one of the things we should always mention to people is that when you go into a trade, when I go into a trade, when these gentlemen go into trades, we generally don't do a full position to start off with because we've learned that our first entry could be wrong. That's the honest truth about it, right? Yeah. In fact, many times it is. So we leave ourselves maneuverability, which is these secondary levels to maneuver in. And at some point, the probabilities, right? So probability is that you'll get a pullback here, here, and here. And so if it doesn't pull back here and the probabilities don't work, the odds are at some point, one of these next two, you will get that bigger pullback. And as long as you can maneuver in dollar cost average, eventually the probabilities work out. That's why they're probabilities, right?
Right, yeah, because that's almost a $100 move, right? So if you were to get in at this level and then say, oh, it's guaranteed to go down and you get too much of your position or portfolio in there, you can't add here or here.
Right.
Right. And so
you're handcuffed essentially, which is the worst. Right. As a trader, and I think we all agree from trading in the Apex Live day trading room and even just swing trading, the worst feeling in the world is being handcuffed where you can't maneuver.
That's right.
You literally are like, I'm at the mercy of the markets now. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. All right.
You don't want to be hoping, praying, believing that a stock's going to go up or down, whether you're long or short.
That's right.
Being able to maneuver is really kind of the holy grail of trading.
You want to move the mouse.
Yeah, let's see if we.
There we go.
So Ben, you were talking about Roblox pre-market, and you kind of got me thinking about this trade that I reviewed on Shopify this week. So Shopify pre-market was down around 22%. Okay, now you may be able to see this, but this is the market open right here. You can see maybe it's shaded a little differently. This is the tan area. This is just the regular black area. So right here is the market open. And you can see here right around, let's say 6:30, 7 a.m., the price came down here, bounced, and then started to put in this little falling wedge pattern, okay? So you can see that right here at the open, you have this pivot low, and then this pivot low. And you can see you have a bunch of tails here where people got stopped out, but this is really an actionable area on the chart where you can go long using the pre-market data to enter a trade. And I don't have volume here, but typically we look at volume pre-market. If there's a lot of volume, then that's a stock that we can trade. But this is really something to keep an eye on, in the pre-market where you could really have, this was like a 3% bounce here on Shopify, essentially right at the open, maybe about 10 minutes into the open. So.
And these are for day trades, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, day trades versus the Netflix was a daily chart.
Right.
So we're clear. So that would be more of a swing trade.
Correct. Exactly.
That's kind of the nice thing about day trading, right? Is when these markets are like either soaring, it's sometimes it can be scary to go short, right? But that's why you look for the technical levels, you look for the patterns, because in this case, and same with Roblox, if we're getting a steep drop, well, we need to be able to find a level that we can go long, right? And that's why it's super important to really study technical analysis and TA, because it gives you an edge in the markets instead of saying, oh, well, it's going to continue down because it dropped. I mean, Roblox bounced 10% off the lows, and you know, if you were scared and you started saying, all right, well, it's pierced this level, it's going to keep going down forever, then you'd be stuck in a short as it's moving up.
And I just also like to interject that I also like technical analysis and TNA too.
TNA.
Yeah.
TNA.
Anyways.
Did I say TNA?
You said technical analysis and TNA. And
Sorry.
I love it, man. You can see we have a good time here in the studio and in the trading room over there, guys. We have a good time.
What are your thoughts on the S&P? I mean, I know probably all the eyes are on the S&P right now, making a possible double top here.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this market is so strong.
It seems like, honestly, the fact that we took out the 786 fib now, there's no more fibs left.
Yeah.
It seems likely, especially with as light as the volume is. But, you know, again, today was an interesting day because early in the day, if you can go to the intraday 10-minute chart, like, we actually had a big move up and then we reversed back down. I think we're kind of recovering a little bit, but it was a pretty impressive, for a light volume day, it was pretty impressive in terms of the move to the downside. You can see we opened higher and just kind of came down right to gap fill. It looks like we're slightly positive on the day. But yeah, I thought that was a very intriguing move, and it coincided with the 10-year yield actually starting to push up again.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of days where you have these gap ups higher, right? So here's that gap right there. And then all of a sudden the S&P just bleeds. Whereas, you know, 3 months ago, we were seeing gap ups and then rallies, you know, or kind of a float up.
Yeah.
So,
and we've seen this in so many stocks too. Affirm, I mean, there was a bunch of these that they opened up on earnings. Like Robinhood yesterday was a great example of this.
Yeah.
We saw that open higher and it just sold off. And again, what that's really telling you is that there's money out there. There's big money, smart money that is looking to unload into these moves. There's something that they know or they think is coming that they're just like, listen, we're getting a 5-10% gap up. Unload it all, like sell it all, like Michael Douglas in Wall Street, sell it all.
Yeah. Now we're saying this. It doesn't mean that it's always going to happen. I mean, could run out of sellers, and we could see all-time highs on the stock market. So please do your own research.
And I think you specifically, and even me, I'm starting to lean towards at least making a slightly higher high, which will stop a lot of people out. There'll be a lot of bears that have their stops right at that high, and then on the flip side, you know, it makes that high. You get any bulls that are on the sidelines, kind of like iffy. They'll be pushed into
pushing back in, right?
The mainstream media will go like, "Holy cow!" Pom poms will be out. They'll be going nuts. And that's usually, then it makes me more think that we could see a reversal at that point. And here you're showing the negative divergence, right?
Yeah, so I think that's the key, right? If you look back over history, at least over the past 50 years, most of the big reversals on the S&P and in the QQQ have had negative divergence on the RSI. So you see the RSI here in purple, and what you see here is likely if this price gets above this area right here, let's say price comes up into here, okay, well, the price slope will be like this, whereas the RSI slope will likely still be down, and there will be the first time that the S&P has had bearish divergence or negative divergence. And so I think that's the key, right? So that's what I'll be looking for. This is a long-term trend line. You'll have a pierce of this trend line, maybe a bull trap with this negative divergence, and maybe that is when we start to see the big fall in the S&P.
Yep. With that is we still look for confirmation, right? So we had this big sell-off right here, but now we're having this rally up. And so it hasn't confirmed necessarily the move. And so we just got to continue to look for additional confirmation that the reversal is going to happen, or it's a continuation of the reversal, right? And so that's the thing, is each chart in each day provides a little bit more insight into what's going on. And so that's what we're doing, right? We're just figuring out, like, okay, so this is what price action is saying today. Now we'll look at it tomorrow. And then once we get that reversal, then we can give you more direction, or give ourselves more direction on which way it's going.
And I think, and that's a great point, because I think if you just look at this, we're still kind of in an uptrend, right? I mean, we've made a low, but we haven't solidified that we're making a lower high yet. You know, we could still, if we do push up to a higher high, and then the question is, do we roll over and make a lower low? I think really when you look for a change in trend, you do want to see, like, you know, something like this, but then down and then a lower high and a lower low. Like that's key to really signal. And we don't have that yet on this chart. You know, you only have the initial up there. Maybe we have a lower high. We don't know yet because we haven't turned down yet. But those will be things that, you know, needless to say, we're looking for to kind of confirm the change that it's not a bull market. Because right now, it is a bull market still.
Yeah,
it still is, in all fairness, you know.
Even with stocks like
Roblox,
Affirm,
and,
Roblox,
yeah,
and all
crazy.
these things, just having huge down days.
Starbucks, Disney.
Starbucks.
I mean, you're talking some of the biggest names out there, except for Apple. Apple did well.
Yes.
Google did too.
Yes,
fair,
that's true.
But again, yeah, you're right about that. So
And
interesting.
This is what Gareth's talking about, right? So you have your lows here of 2022.
Yep.
And then you have your next, you know, your higher low, your higher high, higher low, higher high, potentially a higher low here on the macro scale on the weekly chart.
Yeah, you could see it right here, right? So here we were in a downtrend. There was a high, a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Then you had a higher high, but we didn't know yet. Then you made there the higher high, higher low. Now you can see the change in the trend and look at what we did in the market the rest of the way, right? So again, that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about that change, is that really solidifies it. Now we can speculate and we can think, you know, their odds are a little favoring this way,
Sure.
but really the chart is what's going to tell us ultimately.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting what happens in the next week or two here.
Yeah,
on
it
the
is.
S&P. And what's going on next week? A lot of economic data.
CPIs next week. So
Right.
we've had 3 hot CPIs. Is that going to remain hot? We know oil's come in a little bit off the highs, not tremendously. Gasoline's come in a little bit, but then copper's still at 52-week highs. So it's an interesting situation here with CPI data.
And the labor market's starting to crack a little bit, right?
Crack. So far, we'll see if we get, you know, next week's jobless claims will be interesting.
Well, we'll see if the government can continue to increase the jobs, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're saying, right? The economy's looking like a soft landing because, you know, look at all this job creation that we've had.
Right.
Yeah, but where's it coming from? I mean, that's the real question.
That is the real question. You're right about that. So what do we have, guys? Let's
all right.
let's
do
do our
to the
final what are the final chart, the bottom line. What is the bottom line?
Okay, so here we're going to go into the bullish or bearish segment, and we're going to take a look at the Costco chart. Right. So normally we have
step out and let him go.
Yeah. So normally we have one person giving you the bullish case and the other person giving you the bearish case. I don't know which direction that they're going, but I'm going bearish on Costco, right? So Costco just put in, well, I'll show you the charts. So you guys can get your charts ready, and here's my chart on Costco. All right, so here we go. Costco, double top area. So this is on the weekly still. So let me go ahead and switch back to the daily. Well, actually looking at the weekly chart, look at this reversal candle. So that right there is a huge, huge topping tail, right? And it had pretty good volume. It took out at least a couple of days worth of price action. And so for me, this is looking really, really bearish. And then we'll switch to the daily chart. Go ahead and erase that, switch here. The daily chart, look at this. I've got a couple trend lines. You have this top right here, this pivot top, all this price action, and then it actually kissed this line. For me, that's telling me that there's a lot of resistance here. And so right at this, basically the $800 level or 785 level, is going to be a super, super, super strong resistance and actually fill this gap. And a tiny bit higher, you have the double top for all-time highs on Costco. So I see a huge reversal in Costco in the next couple weeks. So I think my downside target, I'm not going to go super crazy. Costco doesn't move a ton, so maybe a 5% pullback. Let's go 725 for Costco. That's where I think the direction is going.
Can I add a couple things to
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. So are you going bearish or bullish?
Well, I mean, I would like to go bearish. Am I allowed to go bearish?
Yeah. This is,
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Very good. So couple things. So you've got the double top on Costco, plus you have a time count, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's in Gareth's Winning Trader series. So plus you have the gap fill. So you've got 3 huge factors here. And I bet if you were to look at the RSI would be overdone too. So So Gareth, we're going to have to make Gareth the bull.
I have a bullish case.
Okay, all right.
What's your
I have a
bullish?
bullish- All right. My bullish case is anytime I go to Costco and the wife and kids come, the checkout bill is like massive. And so if they come with me to Costco this weekend, their earnings are going to
That's
rock.
actually a really good point. That's a really good point.
So we always like to have upside or downside targets, right? So give them something that what's your downside target for Costco? And this is on a weekly time frame, right? Ooh. So you're on a time count. It went from 720 all the way up to 785. So what's your downside target?
And then I'm going to give an upside target just in case it does. Because listen, I've thought many times, I actually think it's going down too, but like I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. So it'll be good to look at what if it goes up, where does it go?
Okay.
My downside target on
next
Costco.
Friday.
Ooh.
Oh, by next Friday?
By next Friday, yes.
So is it the same rules that either way you do the push-ups?
Okay, all right. Well, in that case. So I would say by next Friday, 744.
744, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, so somewhere.
So about 5%, maybe a little over 5% drop?
Yeah, maybe about 4 or 5%, yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So this is tough for me.
The bullish case. Here we go.
This is tough. Here, let me jump
Go
over
ahead,
these
go ahead.
charts here and let's see what we got. All right. So what we're gonna do is let's zoom out a little bit and let's just see if we connect some trend lines here. What if we take this high pivot to this high here? All right, and then we'll zoom in on it there. Bear with me as we zoom in on this. Oops, got to go there.
Just switching over so that way they can see what you're doing.
All right, appreciate that. All right, so based on this trend line here, it looks to me like if there is a bullish case to be made, this high, you take the high from the 2021 bull market, you connect it to this crazy reversal topping tail kind of thing, and it gives us that high right there, which is right around 810.
Okay.
So I'll go $30 higher. $30 higher on this. We'll give it a run there and do my best. We'll see.
You know the best part about
I guess we know that I'm going to Costco this weekend with the wife and kids.
That's right.
You know the best part about this, regardless of what happens with Costco, you owe us 30 push-ups right now.
Wait, don't we have another chart to do, or no? Does that
No,
it?
we'll
all
call
right,
it a
good,
day.
good.
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
think
It's
we've covered
Friday.
a lot.
It's
Yeah.
Friday. Good.
All right. Well,
All right.
All right. So we're not going to do the push-ups live. It'll be recorded.
Oh, come on, Ben.
I'm not going to do it. Come on.
All right, then if we do it recorded, Dr. B sits on your back while you do it.
All right, fair. That's fair.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Can we all say, and that's the bottom line?
Sure.
Have a good one, guys, because
And
that's the bottom line.